Hello everyone and welcome to Ian's Bricks. So you may have seen a video that I did last weekend where I went to my first National Brick event, and that was held at the Life Centre in Plymouth. So yeah, I know Plymouth reasonably well, so it was a nice place for me to go. I'd not been there for a few years actually, but it was nice to go to Plymouth for the event. As it was my first National Brick event. I've done lots of other sort of brick fairs and festivals in the past with other organisers, and they've all generally gone quite well. So this is my first time with the National Brick event guys, and I have to say they really looked after me. But today I just really want to talk about the event itself, how it went, how sort of successful it was, and I'll talk about some other sets that I took with me and sold, and I'll also tell you at the end how much money I actually made. So I know a lot of these videos, when I talk about these, I don't really sort of divulge how much I make on these. I don't like to be sort of too boastful with these things, but I thought because this event maybe wasn't quite as busy as some of the other ones, sort of give you a breakdown of the profits and things that I did actually make, because I know a lot of people do ask me that. So yeah, I'll basically start from the start. So the event was held at the Plymouth Life Centre, really nice big sports hall, and the thing about the sports hall, it had very good connection inside, so there was very good 5G signal, sorry, for my phone, which means that taking payments on my SumUp card reader had no problems at all basically. I know with some venues I've been to in the past, I think the worst one ever was the ice rink in Milton Keynes for an event there, and that was just awful. There was just no signal in that building at all. But yeah, no problems at all with the Plymouth Life Centre. They did actually get organised some kind of internal Wi-Fi as well, so big up to the guys at National Brick Events for sorting that out. As it happens, I didn't actually need to use that, but it was there just in case the signal was awful. So yeah, I sort of did my setup and got my stall set out, and I did understand that the event probably wasn't going to be quite as busy as some of the other events that I went to recently. For example, I went to a Southampton brick festival back in the end of April, and that was just crazy busy. That was one of the in fact, it was the busiest brick festival I've ever been to. But they're not all going to be like that. There are some of these fairs and festivals that for whatever reason just aren't quite as busy. My sort of understanding was that there had actually been a brick festival there, obviously run by a different company, back in around about February or March time. So obviously you're sort of talking June. It's not that long since that had happened. Maybe people had been to the brick fair or brick festival in the past and didn't really want to go to another one. And there was also another brick festival in Exeter on the same day as well. Literally, Exeter's about 45 minutes drive away if you don't know the area. So maybe people in Devon that day were sort of really spoilt to which fairs and festivals they wanted to go to. So I was aware before I went that it was maybe going to not be quite as busy as some of the events that I went to, but having said that, there was still a nice steady stream of people throughout the day, and I think because the venue was quite big, it just felt really relaxed, and people were spending money as well. I mean, obviously you always get people browsing and having a look and things like that, but generally people were it was quite a calm event. Nobody was sort of pushing or anything like that. It was a really sort of nice feeling the whole event had. So you know, maybe some of these slightly quieter events aren't that bad to go to because there's more choice, there's more time to go around, you're not feeling as though you're rushing round. So from that perspective, from a customer perspective, it was probably quite a good thing. But from a trader, it did mean obviously that there weren't quite as many sales as potentially there could be for something like that. But as I say, it still did okay. So in total, as you probably know, when I go to these fairs and festivals, I don't really sell individual minifigures. I really will just sell box sets, from sort of little tiny sort of you know, £10 sets to sort of big you know, £200-300 sets, depending on what I've got available and what I've got. So in total I took 154 different box sets of varying sizes. Of course, all of these are sealed sets that I take with me. Of those 154 boxes, I actually sold 58 of them, which works out at just under 40% of everything that I took with me box wise that I did manage to sell. So, you know, compared to that, to some of the busy events I've been to, obviously I've left those events with loads and loads, with hardly any sets. So I've sold most of them, so you hardly come back with any. So yeah, so I could have Probably been a little bit happy if I sold a little bit more, but still I was happy with what I did sell that day. I did also sell 15 poly bags as well. I don't sell many poly bags. There were other people there with a much bigger range of poly bags, and probably some better deals as well, because I tend to sell mine individually. A lot of people sort of have, you know, buy one for £5, two for £9, all this kind of stuff. So they have little deals on and things like that. So yeah, poly bags are just a little side thing for me really. I just sort of have a small display, but you know, I still sell 15 of those. One thing that did sell quite well and always sell quite well at these brick fairs and brick events are the gifts with purchase that you get from Lego and from other places as well, because obviously there's no buy-in price for me for those, and also a lot of these sets people don't realise they're around. A lot of these gifts with purchase can be quite nice little sets as well, and I think if you sort of miss out, if you're away or don't realise or don't follow Lego as much as I do, you might not realise that these sets have ever been available. So people can get these sets and sort of buy them from me, and again I'll charge that my prices that I charge, I try and be quite reasonable. I look at sold eBay prices to give me a general idea of what sets are actually worth, what people are willing to pay for them. So hopefully my prices are quite good as well, which is another reason why I think I do quite well on my Lego sales. So I sold 16 gift with purchase altogether. I did take quite a few more than that. As I say, it wasn't the busiest day in the world, but yeah, my gifts with purchase do always very well at these particular events. Because a lot of these gift with purchase aren't particularly large sets, I think people can sort of buy them, afford them, they're not too expensive, and they're just nice little sets, some of them. One thing that didn't sell particularly well for me is that I bought quite a lot of dimension sets, and I took a whole host of different dimension sets with me to this event, and there was quite a bit of interest in the sets. Now obviously I'm aware if you want to play the game you have to have the PlayStation game or whatever to be able to play the game. I think a lot of people nowadays are buying dimension sets for the actual figures and the minifigures that are inside the sets, because there's some really interesting sort of themes like Back to the Future, and there's like some Harry Potter stuff obviously, but there's like Simpsons stuff in there and Lord of the Rings. So there's all sorts of different varieties of sort of rare figures and little builds in those particular sets. But out of the, I must have taken about 20 different dimension sets, and I literally only sold one. As I say, people were interested in them, and previously at my previous Brick Festival I actually sold quite a few. I'd only taken I think I only had 4 different types at the time, and I sold a few of those. They did quite well, but this particular time people were looking but nobody was buying, unfortunately. So maybe it'll take me a little bit longer than I'd hoped to maybe sell some of those dimension sets, but it's fine. I can take it to my next Brick Fair, Brick Festival. That's no problem at all. I don't mind too much with that. So some of the larger sets that I did sell on the day, I sold my final Lego House Pirate and minifigure tribute set number 40504. I actually sold that for £135. So my original buying price for that was around about £71, £72. But of course what you have to factor in with that particular set is my whole trip to Billund that I did, and obviously the cost of getting there and all this kind of stuff. I built one of those sets myself. I actually bought 3 back from Billund in Denmark, and I've basically sold the other 2, and I had 2 other sets as well that I'd sold. So the sets I did buy in Billund, actually I've pretty much made my money back on them all. So in total, you may have seen my video back when I went to Billund in March. I did a roundup video of how much I spent. So the total trip for that Billund trip, the flights, the costs, the parking charges, the cost of the sets, including the set that I bought for myself, were £535. I've sold all 4 sets that I bought to take back with me, which were to sell, because I built one of the sets. I built the 5th one, but I sold 4 of the sets that I actually brought back with me, and the total money that I made on those 4 sets was £545, which of course is a £10 profit. Now I know it's not a huge profit, it's hardly worth it for £10, but at the end of the day I got my minifigure tribute pirate to build myself, so I've got one of those. That's basically free. And I got a day trip to Billund as well, which was great fun. Of course, on top of that, I have had some YouTube revenue. I think I did about 3 videos on that of the actual day and going around the house, and the roundup video. And my sort of YouTube ad revenue so far for those 3 videos is around about £75. not a great deal. So my ad revenue on YouTube is reasonable but not great at the moment. Obviously if I had more subscribers that would be better. But yeah, it's an interesting sort of one to sort of to add up. Is it going to be worth me going back to the Lego house again to buy more sets? Yes, probably, because in future I won't be buying sets to build, although I might still do that. But certainly it was an interesting experience, and it's nice to know that now I've sold all of those sets finally, that I did actually make a profit in the end, so it's all good. So yeah, so I sold them my final pirate. Some other sets that I sell, some of the larger ones. I sold the Mickey and Minnie buildable character 43179. I sold that for £160. Not a lot of profit on that particular set. It's not really gone up in value a great deal since I bought it. I think my buying price was about 136, so really not a great deal of profit on that particular set. I was just sort of happy to take it with me, and I think the lady that bought it, she bought it quite early on actually, was pretty pleased with being able to get that for not much more than what the recommended retail price was at the time for that particular set. I also sold 75277, a Boba Fett helmet. The helmet series do quite well. I actually sold that for £95. Checking back on my original buying price, well, that would have been probably 2021, I paid £35 for that, so that's a fairly decent bit of profit on that set. I think the recommended retail price for those is about £50–55, I think, but even that, it's done quite well. I do have one more of those Boba Fett helmets left at home, which I'll probably take to my next event. I also sell 75314, the Star Wars Bad Batch shuttle. I sell that for £180. They have really skyrocketed in price. I was lucky enough, I think I bought 4 of those in total, so I've now sold 2 of those Bad Batch shuttles. That particular one, I think I paid recommended retail price for that, which was £60, but selling it on 180, which is only, I think, a year and a half after I bought it. That is one of the success stories. And again, Star Wars always sort of produce these sets where people, for whatever reason, don't buy them, aren't aware of them, and they just increase in value so much. So yeah, nice to sell that for a tidy little profit. Another set which I finally sold, which I was pretty pleased about, was 76166, the Marvel Avengers Tower Battle. This is a set I'd taken to 5 or 6 different fairs and festivals, and it just hadn't sold. I think I'd had it on at 130, then 125. It wasn't selling, nobody was really interested in it. I put it on £120 at this show, and it finally sold. So thank you very much if you're that person that bought that set. I still think it was a very, very good price for that particular set, because they do sell on eBay for around about £130 to £140, but for whatever reason I struggled to sell that one. My buying price for that originally was around about £80, so £40 profit. It's not a bad profit, not the greatest in the world, but it's still a profit. I have got one more of those to sell, so hopefully it won't take as long to sell the last one of those. Quite a few of my other larger sets didn't sell. For example, let's have a quick look at what I've got here. Yeah, so I had like the 10244, the Fairground mixer, that didn't sell. That was on at 240. I had a 10254, the Winter Holiday Train, at 199. That didn't sell either. I also had 10268, another Vestas wind turbine. I sold one at my last event. It didn't sell at this event. I had it on at 260. And I think there was also 40502, the Lego House brick moulding machine. Again, this is a set that's retired now, you can't get hold of. I did have that on at £380. I was looking at sort of sold eBay prices, and they went from anything from about £350 to about £450, so I was sort of trying to go for the lower option. Again, a couple of people looked at it, but again, I'm aware it's quite an expensive set and nobody bought that one. So yeah, a few of my sets didn't sell. As I say, I only sold 58 out of the 154 sets in total, but I think I'm still quite happy with everything that I did sell at the event. So let's talk some numbers then. So what did I actually take on the day? So in total, my total that I took was £2,380. Now, That basically relates to, if you're in the US, that's around about 3,000 US dollars, or in euros, it's around about 2,800 euros, just to give you a feel for what kind of the amount that I actually took. So that's my gross take-ins before you take off any sort of fees and charges and cost of sets and things like that. My actual profit, so taking into account the travel to get there, the cost of the tables, the actual cost of the sets that you had at the time as well, and the card charges as well for my SumUp card reader, my total profit for this particular event was £1,085. In US dollars, that works out at 1,370 based on the current exchange rate, or in euros, that's 1,280 euros. Certainly not the biggest profit I made at any of these events. As I say, I've made a lot more money at a couple of ones I did earlier this year, but actually it's still a decent amount of profit for an event like this. Now, one thing I don't sort of factor in cost-wise is my time. A lot of the time when I do these things is in the evenings after my normal day job, and also I took a day off work as well, just for the Thursday, because I had very little time to prepare for this event, about 5 days. So I did need to end up taking a day off work. So you could potentially factor all of that in, and your time and this, that and the other, but I'm literally just looking at the pure profit that I made on this, so I'm not really taking my time into account for this particular event. Is it worth doing these things? No, definitely. I still enjoy doing that. So even though this event wasn't quite as popular as some of the ones I have been to recently, it was still definitely worth doing. Some of them are going to be busier than others. You are going to get quieter ones, but I think I was reasonably lucky that even at such a sort of a quieter event, that I actually still did reasonably well. Sort of talking to a couple of the other vendors as well, they'd done okay themselves, but maybe not as good as they would do either. So I think I did, out of all the vendors there, it's difficult to say really, because some people had huge tables with loads and loads of sets to sell, but of course it's literally just me and my partner Anthony. We sort of go, there's just the two of us on the table. I take my car to keep costs down, so I don't have to hire a van and things like that. So it's all about making sure that your costs are quite low in the first place, and if you do have a slightly slower day, it's not going to be the end of the world. So I'm still quite happy with how the day went. For me, it was an extra event. I didn't really know that I was going to do the event until the Monday of the week, and the event was on the Saturday, so I literally had those 5 days to prepare for the whole event. But it was a little bit tiring, a little bit much for me, but I got there in the end. And of course, when I come back home, I've obviously got quite a lot of sets that I didn't sell, nearly 100 sets. But of course, the good news for that is for my next event, which is actually next weekend, there's going to be less preparation time for me, because I've still got all of those sets. They're all ready. They're already boxed up. They're all in their sort of boxes, ready to go back in my car, so it shouldn't take me too long just to add a few more sets to that, and I'll all be ready for my next event. So there's always swings and roundabouts with having a lot more stock left at the end of the day, and I say what doesn't sell at this event, it'll sell at the next event, or the next event, or the event after that. So you know, there's always the way to look at it. I don't worry too much about bringing quite a bit of stock back with me. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm just looking at my notes. That's everything I really wanted to talk about. I hope you enjoyed this overview and sort of my honesty about how much I make at these LEGO fairs and festivals. Before anybody asked, yes, I will be declaring this to the taxman, to the HMRC. At the end of the year, I'll sort of add up how much I make at all these events, and then take off expenses and costs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I do report those figures. So because I know a few people ask me, do you report this to the taxman? Well, yes, I have to, because anything that you make over £1,000, for whether that's eBay or whatever you do, you have to declare that to the taxman. So it's always a good idea to get registered with them if you haven't already, if you're based in the UK. That's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you got to the end, that's much appreciated. And until the next video, take care, and I'll see you then. Bye for now.